Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. So today I am going to do a video where I talk about how I'm going to change this spread into something that I like a lot more. Now there are parts of this that I do really love, but there's a lot more of it that I'm not really feeling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a few colors to change the trajectory of where this spread is going. I think the two colors I want to start off with is this fluorescent pink and this quinasidrone magenta. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that first part, but it is a gorgeous, gorgeous, deep, luscious pink. So just with these two pinks and maybe this cashew, I'm going to try to infuse new energy into this page. Now, I started working on this particular art journal about 4 or 5 years ago, and whatever, I was at the point I was at that time on my art journey, I created this spread. But now 5 years later, I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's a lot that I'm really not feeling. So I'm just gonna try to change where this page is heading, if that makes sense. And I think I've mentioned this before, but I don't use purple a lot. I love purple and I try to use it, but for some reason it just doesn't work out that way with me. It just kind of fizzles out somehow. But I do consciously try to inject my work with purple and experiment with it. Now I'm loving that purple a lot more since I've added this magenta. And I think I'm gonna do the same thing over here. And I love these inks because they just give you such a pop of color, very saturated and vivacious. For, even a small drop goes a long way. So I really love these inks. Okay, so I need to do the same on this side here. And I think I'm gonna drop some over here. And so I'm going to repeat it 3 times on the page. So I think I'll bring it in there. Okay. Now I want this page to read as one spread. I don't want it to be 2 separate pages. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat it as one spread. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to work on it as if I'm working on one page. So and again, I'm just kind of trying to be relaxed and in the moment and meditative about my process. I'm still, not thinking about an image at this point. So now I'm going to get my cashew out and and just play with things. It's too busy. I really love parts of it, but there's a lot going on, so it is reading as very chaotic because there's too much going on. So I'm gonna have to cover up some of these patterns and colors with a more neutral color, which is the cashew, even though some of the pink did get on the cashew, so it's not reading as a true neutral, but it's still a solid color, and that's gonna give the page some resting spots rather than it being so chaotic everywhere. So I think I'm gonna get rid of that. And this here might be my ugly phase of this spread, because every phase goes through an ugly phase, and sometimes it goes through more than one. And now I'm really feeling that this whole spread is quite ugly. I actually maybe liked it more at the beginning of the spread than I do right now, but it's totally okay, because that's the whole thing about the ugly phase, is that we just have to move through it to get to the other side. Like, it might be that the initial spread was a better spread to me, but I still wasn't happy with it. There was too much going on. It was too chaotic. There was too much about it that I didn't like. But now I've moved into the ugly phase and I hate it even more. So it's totally fine, because I've been doing this for a while. It's just necessary to get to the other side of it. So I know things look like a big mess here, and that's totally fine. It's supposed to look like a big mess. It's supposed to be a big mess. And I'm just kind of trying to bring some neutrals into the mix here. So I think what I'm gonna do is just look through my viewfinder. And I am really loving this purple. Now that I've deepened it with the magenta, I am really loving it a lot more. But there's still too much going on. And so I think I need to bring in my ink in my Waverly chalk paint, and I need to bring in like a grayish neutral to just tone things down a little bit. And things might get even uglier, but you know, we're just gonna go with it. That is a beautiful neutral though. And when I mix this neutral gray with the burnt sienna, it really warms it up. So it's still a neutral, but it's a warm neutral. And because there's so many blues here, there's, you know, a lot more blues than I normally use. The warm neutrals are really good for the page. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna get rid of all this blue here. And I think I'm gonna get rid of some of that, because it's just, there's too much pattern stuff going on. So I feel like I've toned it down quite a bit. I'm just trying to see what I can get rid of to just bring in some feels of neutrals over here, because it's still a bit too busy for me. And the thing is, it's great to create a lot of interest and beautiful parts of the page, but there also has to be flat fields of color and neutrals, and it's finding that balance between all of these different elements, because if things are too busy, then the eye just jumps around from this place to that place to this place to that place, and it almost doesn't know where to look and where to stay. So there has to be like feels of neutrals for it all to work. It's like a symphony. You know, I don't know anything about music. I'm not musically inclined. I love music, but I don't have any kind of talent in that area. But I imagine it's kind of like a symphony where all these different pieces have to work together to make the piece. But you know, if something is too jarring for the whole time, it's just going to be too difficult to listen to it. So I kind of imagine that that's what it would be like. There has to be this balance. So this is still ugly. I don't feel like it's, you know, I don't feel like it's moving out of the ugly stage. It's still kind of ugly to me, but I'm just going to keep on working it. Just keep on working it. Just adding more neutrals here. And I think another thing that's kind of standing out to me now is that the colors on this page are not really cohesive. And what I mean by that is, like, there's some blue and purple, and then there's orange and green and yellow, and it's like there's too many different colors. And I think I need to kind of get rid of some of the colors here, and I think I'm gonna try to get rid of some of this orange here. I'm gonna keep some of it, but there's just too much going on here. Okay. Let's get rid of some of that orange. I mean, it's still pretty ugly to me. So maybe what I'm gonna do is add some collage, and maybe I need to get rid of all of this blue here. maybe that's gonna kind of tame it a little bit and pull things together. I'm not sure. Let me see here. So I have this collage, and I think I'm just going to cover up a lot of the blue. The blue and white is just too jarring. It really stands out. So I'm just gonna try to like cover it up and see what that does. It may not do much, or it may change the whole spread. And that's the thing, is a lot of it is, you know, let me try this out. Let me see what happens. Let me try this color out. Let me cover this up. And, you know, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't work. And it's kind of when I let go of the expectation, that helps a lot, because now I'm not worried about covering something up. I'm not like stressed out about taking risks. So I am going to add that. And this is a pattern as well, but it's a smaller pattern for one thing, and it's just more subdued, especially if I go over and add a transparent ink over top of it in a neutral color. It's really going to push it back quite a bit and integrate it into the page. So I think okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my burnt sienna and I'm going to like just drop it in there and see. So I've pushed it back quite a bit. So it's still ugly to me. I've toned it down quite a bit, but I'm really not liking it very much at all. And, you know, I think what I'm going to do is sometimes I just need to come in and I need to like simply like just not start over, but do something more drastic. I don't know what that is, but I'm really digging this magenta, so I think I'm just gonna kind of spread it around here. And see if that changes anything. So if I struggle and struggle and struggle with something and I just can't seem to pull it out of its ugly phase or boring phase or chaotic phase, then what I'll do is I will leave it alone for a while and I'll come back to it you know, because sometimes time will really give me a different perspective. Because once I feel myself getting really frustrated with something, I know like it's time to get some perspective and leave it alone for a while and just kind of come back to it at a later time. You know, because when you're working on something and working on it and working on it, it's hard to get a good perspective on it because you know, there's a level of frustration maybe that kind of like builds up. But when you leave it alone and you come back to it, you see it with fresh eyes, and that really helps. So I think I'm gonna like add some of this orange here. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to leave it alone and I'm going to come back to it. I just had the thought that I'm going to add some gold here, but I'm going to leave it alone and I'm going to come back to it in maybe a week, and I'm going to see if anything has changed, if I can do something different, or, you know, maybe I need to cover the whole entire thing up with collage. Like, I'm not sure. But it just seems to be very disjointed to me right now. So I'm going to leave this here and I will come back to it, let everything dry, and I'm going to come back to it. And once again, I'm not going to edit anything out of this because I think all of these mishaps and, you know, the ugly phase and like when, you know, like I don't know what to do. I don't have everything figured out. I have no idea where this is going to go. I'm not happy with it. I think all of these lessons are learning tools. And so I'm just going to leave everything as is. I'm not going to edit anything out. And I will leave this alone, come back to it in a few days or a week or maybe even 2 weeks or a month. But anyways, this is the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.